All right, good afternoon, everyone. Futures Berizio here. It is Thursday, August 14th, 2025. Hope everybody's having a great week. And I just got home. I was away for the last 2.5 days, so really didn't do much trading at all. I've been kind of tied up with things off the charts, so better to just stay out of the markets when you're not focused. But wanted to jump in here anyways today and just take a quick look at where things are at. And so we'll just dive right on in here. And as always, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Any questions or comments, leave them down below. And I have my camera turned off today because I got a little bit of a funky background here where I am. So we'll just stay off camera. No problem. Nobody wants to see my mug anyways. So anyways, we'll just dive right in. We'll start with futures. So as you guys know, I've been kind of leaning back towards looking at things like live cattle because has pretty good movement. I guess the downside, well, it's a plus and a minus. There's no like mini or micro contracts with cattle, or in this case, lean hogs, which is what you see on the screen now. And so if you have a small account, you really can't trade these. And you do have to be careful because with your contract size, because of course it's leveraged. If you guess right, if your analysis is right, you can make a lot of money. But if you're wrong, you can really do a lot of damage to your account. So you got to be very careful with these two markets, and just make sure your setups are there. So this is Hogs, which is I've traded in the past, but honestly, probably not in over a year. I would say maybe longer. So we'll just look at this. And again, I prefer the 4-hour chart as kind of my longer term setup chart. And so you can kind of see what's going on here. And again, I like to look from like recent swing highs or lows to kind of see what's going on. So if we take this area, this recent low, and then we came up here, we were in a downtrend. We had this market structure sitting up here. We came down. We failed to put in a new low, went up and took out this swing. And so now you have to think about whether this is going to go higher or whether we're going to somehow come in here and continue the downtrend. Now, if you look back at kind of previous price history and the way this market moves, this to me is more suggestive, although I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not married to this. This could easily break through here and continue a big downtrend. But considering the size of this move right here from here and down and up, to me, if you compare it to the way this market moves normally, when there are corrective moves, it doesn't usually have this kind of. So here's the 1-hour chart, and here's that 4-hour. What I just drew, it's just drawn out here on a 1-hour chart. You can just see the size of this. In previous corrective action here does not look like that. If you just take like this area right here, for example, I mean, this is a decent pullback, but it's not this. So right now I'm kind of undecided, and I'm going to wait and see. From a market structure standpoint, we've got this low right here that led to this high, and now we've come all the way back down here. And so as long as we maintain this area right here above these lows right here, then I'm still bullish. I'm still, looking more bullish here. But, if we close and get a nice like 1 to 4 hour close candle, not just a wick, but an actual candle body close underneath here, then we'll probably continue the down move and we'll blow right through this low right here. All right, so I'm just waiting to see. But again, looking from recent swing to where we are now, this is more bullish. But again, we've had this really deep pullback here. And whether this turns into a pullback or it's just a continuation of the downtrend, I don't know. So we'll see. But this one I'm keeping a very close eye on because either way, it's probably getting ready to make another move, whether we get some sort of engulfing bullish action here off these levels, or whether we smash through here and keep going down. Either way, You know, probably in the next couple of trading sessions, they'll potentially be a setup here. Tomorrow's Friday, so may or may not happen then. Again, these markets, these ag markets, have very limited trading hours. This trades basically from about 9:30 a.m. to about 2 p.m. Eastern time, so it's a pretty short window. The market will make its move in that time, and then that's it. And then it very quickly dies out. And so the market is closed right now. The indicator at the bottom of the screen is, again, completely not necessary, but all it is the stochastic indicator. And I only use this basically on the 4-hour chart. You can see if I go to a 1 hour, you don't see the indicator there. I have it set to basically the 4-hour and higher. And basically, I have it set on a very, very loose low setting. It's set on 2.2. The percent D actually doesn't do anything. You can make this any number. It doesn't do it. It's the percent K and the slowing. I have set very low at 2 each, and makes this thing very responsive. And I also turned off the signal line. It's just the stochastic line showing. And basically, it's a good way to help judge entries for in the direction of the trend. You know, if you're looking for timing. So, you know, for instance, you know, at this swing right here, if we grab the crosshair and we look at the stochastic, you know, we did have a false signal right here, and then price went up further up here, and then we had this move here that led to this low. So like anything else, it's going to generate false signals, and that's why, you know, you can't rely on these entirely. You know, I would have been looking for market structure shift over here, and not just the stochastic crossing out of overbought, because obviously, you know, depending where you put your stop loss on this, if you had it like just above this bearish candle, you would have been stopped out on any one of these three right here, only to have it go in your direction. And this is a classic liquidity sweep, and that's exactly what happened. So if you had your stop loss maybe up here, maybe on the other side of this gap, that would have been good. But remember, this is a 4-hour chart on a market that has a lot of dollar movement. So this is a substantial stop loss. So I would probably be more interested in, like, when I saw this signal on this candle, and this isn't the point of this video, but just pointing this out, on this candle, to go to a shorter time frame and look for some sort of market structure shift to indicate whether we actually were going to go down again. So let's take a quick look. I wasn't planning on doing this. So this was on August 7th. So let's jump to the 1 hour. Here it is on the 1 hour. And you can see on the 1 hour already, we had this little market structure right here. Price came down, did not break this. So that's your first clue. And then when price went up again, remember we have the second signal like in here somewhere. And then we have the structure break on this candle right here. This candle broke the structure right here, right? So really from about here on, you could have gone short. Now, yes, you would have missed this little bit right here. And maybe you could go to an even shorter time frame and refine that even more. So I guess we could zoom back here and see. What was the date on this again? I'm so sorry. Okay, July. This was like July 11th or so. So we go to like a 15-minute chart. And we scroll back here and try to find, okay, here it is on the 15-minute. Again, it's kind of the same thing, right? Maybe you get a little better entry. We had all this sideways chop, and then it broke this structure right here, which this did not lead to a new high. But, you know, this would have been another potential entry right here, or maybe this breakout right here. So maybe your entry could have been like right in here instead of this candle. This would have been the candle I talked about. And, you know, this one actually probably would have had no drawdown. This just went right down. If you took this one right here, let's say you were looking on this 15-minute chart and you saw this area get broken, you would have had some drawdown because the price did go down, then it pulled back into this area, swept some liquidity, and then went down. So depending where you got into this, you know, there's only a couple more candles further down here to this one. And you would have, if you had gotten in on the close of this candle, you would have basically had no drawdown at all. This thing just tanked after that. So yes, you would have left this little bit essentially from like here to here. Like there's very little extra in here because the price chopped around, retraced, and then went. So that's why, you know, I'm perfectly fine with using like 1 hour levels here. And so the 1 hour level again is right here. All right. So on the close of this candle down here would have been your short, and you would have gotten, you know, potentially all of this. Okay. So anyways, let's go back to the 4 hour, back to what I was saying. So again, there is a false signal there. If we went down to our shorter structure, we would have avoided that one, and we would have got this one, which was that one I showed you around this candle. And actually, we actually got an even sooner signal on that, basically up here. You know, this actually gave us the signal even before. So this was a good signal. You just have to confirm it on a shorter time frame. And then we had another signal here. And again, this one, you know, I'm not going to go and look at all these. You know, potentially this would have been another false signal depending where your stop loss was. You can see price chopped around. It went down a little bit, popped up, and then it went down. Okay, now in this case, it failed to make a new low, which is why we're at where we're at now. But at least in the short term, this would have been a good trade. You know, and assuming that you got out, you would have made some, hopefully some profit on this. But you can see the disadvantage to trading these with these indicators on such a short setting. So again, I don't rely on them, but so be it. And then we went up here and we had another short signal here. And you certainly could have taken this. And then there was another one yesterday. This was probably yesterday. You know, at this point, though, you would have to wonder whether these were going to hold out, because we already had broken structure right here with this high. But you certainly could have taken these two short, and they would have been good signals. I just started following this chart literally a couple of days ago, so I didn't see any of this anyways. But anyways, back to my original point is that I'm waiting to see what happens as we approach this zone, if we're going to get some kind of bullish engulfing action to go higher, or whether we're going to smash through here and keep going down. All right. So use the indicator, if any type of oscillator, with a grain of salt, understanding that no matter how you set it, there's no perfect setting. If you set it too loose, you're going to get a lot of false signals. If you set it too tight, you're going to miss signals. So that's just the nature of indicators and oscillators. There is no perfect one. All right, so on to live cattle. Live cattle is interesting. As you know, cattle, as I've talked about in previous video, has been going up for literally the last 4 years. This thing's been in an uptrend. But recently here, the last couple of days, we've seen a potential shift. Okay, so the real swing low right now is this right here. We had this low that led to this high. Price came down, but you notice what happened on the bounce here. We failed to come back to this previous high. Certainly did not make a new high, and when we closed lower. So what does that mean? Well, I don't know yet. You know, we'll have to see. Again, this is a pretty substantial change, because anytime this market has, you know, attempted to go lower, it's been bought right back up. We did have kind of a similar situation back here. We had a pullback, price tried to go higher, failed, bearish candle, and then eventually it went higher. So I certainly am not giving up on the long, on the uptrend here, just because we failed to put in a new high right here. This could just be more like a ABC type Elliott wave correction. So I would say, as long as this zone, essentially in between these two red lines, if this area holds, then I would still potentially be looking to resume the uptrend. I mean, the uptrend will be over when they decide it's over, not how long we look at it and say, geez, it's been going on for 4 years. But any break certainly below this low for sure, and maybe even this one, would suggest a potential end of this uptrend. So we'll see. And the other thing I wanted to point out is when we've had pullbacks and continuations, they've gone on for a while, like right here, all the way here, a little pullback here, all the way up here. You notice here we had this pullback, price went up, and then notice how soon again we had selling. The price did make a new high, but it was very short-lived. It went up for like, a day or two before we had yet another big selling push right here. So to me, this means the sellers are getting more aggressive right in this area. They're not letting price run just endlessly up, and they keep trying to sell it. It makes a new high, they sell it hard. Here, they tried to come up again, didn't even make a new high, and then sold it again. So that's one thing that would point to this, potentially turning and going down, because of the buying momentum is more short-lived than it has been in the past. So we'll see. But again, I wouldn't just jump in here and just sell this thing, especially on these longer time frames. Let's let this play out. We'll know soon enough. I mean, we'll probably know in 1 to 2 sessions what this is going to do, unless it just starts consolidating for a few days, which is possible. But if it's going to be impulsive, we're going to know in a day or two whether this is going to bounce. We get maybe throw a wick in here and then it shoots up, or what the story is going to be here. All right, so let's see what happens with cattle. It doesn't necessarily follow hogs, but sometimes it does. All right, cool. And hold on, guys. I'll be back in a minute. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm back. So anyways, so we'll see what happens with these. All right, so we'll just move on now. All right, so this is Euro futures, or actually this is Euro USD futures. Euro FX futures are pretty much the same thing, but this is basically the Euro USD just on a futures chart, which is going to look pretty much the same as the spot futures. Here's the spot futures, right? The regular Forex chart. You can see it's pretty much identical to this. Just one's just blown up a little bit more. Same chart, okay? And again, what do we see here? We see a clear uptrend from this low. And we see this is our most recent structure. And again, guys, you can use lines. You can draw little rectangles if you want. You want to see like a zone instead of a level. That's perfectly fine. Price doesn't, doesn't always respect a line. So give it a little breathing room, something like this. But anyways, so essentially I'm looking for, continuation of the uptrend. We do have some liquidity, sell side liquidity sitting up here. But, another push up is probably in order here until maybe up into this area. And you can see we have a lot of sell side liquidity sitting here that price may need to revisit. Okay, and again, we drill down a little bit on time frames. I had this structure drawn here on the 15-minute before. And then we had this little pullback and then this. So this may be the turn right here. It's just the time of day is not very good. But you can see, again, with the stochastic, this morning, we started coming, we touched out of the oversold, bounced, went back through it so that was not a valid signal. And now it's trying to turn back up. But again, time of day, not great, but I do expect this to run. And to me, I'm more bullish on this. And if I do take an entry, my TP would probably be back up to, somewhere around this area. Okay, and that would be a nice little push, pretty much in line size-wise with the rest of these pushes, and so that would be good. So I'm keeping a close eye on that. And then lastly, in oil, this is crude oil, again, 4-hour chart futures. We do have structure areas. Now we've got an equal high structure area here, which are not always my favorites. And then we've got this one just sitting right above here. So much like what we see with cattle, just flipped over. We have this area in between these two lines. Well, it's kind of the same thing with oil, just on the other side. So basically, any push into or between these two lines is, I'd still be theoretically looking for sell positions. But if we smash through here and we make some aggressive bullish movements, especially if we get a close above this high, I wouldn't be so drawn in by this one. In fact, I expect to see some selling when we hit this level with these equal lows. Those are usually manipulated, and we may see price back off of this, but we may not see it actually go and make a new low. We've already touched this usually on these returns again. You see these areas manipulated. Sellers try to come back in right here at these equal highs. And, sometimes it does go down, but a lot of times it doesn't. And we get a little price manipulation, and then price all of a sudden smashes higher. So to me, I'm not fighting the downtrend we've been in here, but it's starting to look a little bit different now. And just the recent moves down. So again, any definitive close above this second line for me is definitely a shift in momentum. We do have obviously structure levels here and up here, but to me, these have all been revisited anyways with these pullbacks. And so I think any move above here, again, like a 1 to 4 hour candle close above these zones would theoretically lead to higher prices. So I'm not ready to buy it yet. I'm certainly not willing to sell it because, it's been pretty bullish today. Here's the 1 hour chart. And again, we'll see what happens. And I do expect, again, when price comes up to here to, see some selling pressure right in here and, potentially even have this pull back. But again, we look at market structure levels, 15-minute chart. Here's the 15-minute. We have a little 15-minute structure right here. You could basically say, look, as long as price stays above this zone on this 15-minute, even if it comes up here and pulls back, then we're still in an uptrend. Okay, even though the longer trend is still down, that's what I'm looking for. So for the uptrend to be confirmed again, I'd want to see prices close above here. For the downtrend to continue, I'd want to see some of these shorter time frame structures like this 15-minute be broken. I do expect price will continue higher from where it is now, head back towards these 4 hour zones, and then have some sort of reaction off of that. All right, so that's the deal. So all of these are potentially I would say crude oil, cattle, and hogs are all potentially, and I use that in ginormous capital letters, potentially shifting direction, but we'll see. And with EURUSD potentially continuing the uptrend up to our next higher time frame liquidity pool. All right. So I'm just going to leave it there, guys. That's where we're at. So I did not take any trades today. Just didn't really see any reason to. Again, trading on the 4 hour time frame, you do have to be patient. Corrective moves can literally take days. Sometimes, maybe not. Maybe sometimes just one day. But you certainly on any given asset, you may not get a trade for, 1, 2, 3 days. Even in a trending market. Forget about sideways markets. But even in a trending market, you could have to wait a few sessions before you get any momentum. Especially when you're dealing with markets like cattle and hogs that only trade for like 5.5 hours a day anyways. You're not leaving yourself a lot of room or a lot of time to make moves. So when they do, they move, but you just have to be patient. So for me, it's using these longer time frames for structure, and then drilling down to 15 minute, maybe a 15 minute or to a 1 hour time frame somewhere in there, and looking for market shifts to show me potentially trend continuations or to confirm a potential trend reversal. Although trend reversals, I'm looking for structure changes on the 4 hour time frame first. I want to see these 4 hour structures broken, and then I'll start looking on shorter time frames for entries. I may miss the first one. That's fine. I don't have to be the first on board, but I just want to catch these moves, the bulk of these moves when they finally do go. All right. So anyways, guys, I will leave it there. I hope that was helpful. Again, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Questions, comments, leave them down below. And I will try to jump back in here tomorrow, see if we get anything happening with any of these tomorrow. EURUSD futures are probably the one that will, you know, if we're going to continue this uptrend, will happen first. And then we'll continue to watch those other three to see how they shake out now that they're all kind of heading into key levels. So, all right. So I'll leave it there, guys. Have a great rest of your night and talk to you tomorrow. Thanks.